Hello! Welcome back to Stories and Stitches. I'm Jada. The live streams are evolving here ever so slowly. Really enjoying that. Today, gonna try stitching the J initial to my denim vest. So to recap yesterday, this is the initial. I really like the way it turned out. I did it on fleece, or like a knitted fabric. Not quite a polar fleece, but a fleece. Instead of felt, which I've done the other ones on so far. Made it a little bit roly-poly, but I think it's going to make it better for sewing down to a busy area on my denim jacket. And that's all I'm going to try and do today. I'm just going to pick a spot on the vest, pick a stitch. I think I already know which one I want to do. I think I'm going to use black embroidery floss. We're going to see how it goes. So I will say hello to, goodness gracious, Chloe and Ms. Rabbit. Hello, both of you. Thank you for being here. Let's just go right on over to the craft table and get this party started. I think that sounds good. All right, so here we go. I've got my vest. I've got some scissors, which I'll just put to the side. I've got my sewing needle. I've got sewing needles with larger eyes. I've got really a nice collection of needles here. I've got embroidery floss of different colors, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to use black. I also have some thread, just in case I need it. And, of course, the ever important vest. So let me just get a few things out of the way here. Let's put the vest right in the middle of the table. And this is what I'm thinking. So I should probably do up this button. These little... this vest, I really like this vest. It's kind of got almost a bit of a stonewash kind of feeling going, you know, that 1980s thing. It's kind of distressed, so it's got like little bits of, you know, distressedness to it, which I kind of like, so I don't want to cover that. And I was originally thinking I would put the initial or whatever the beaded thing was going to be. I was thinking on the pockets, but the pockets are really small, and I don't want to make it look uncomfortable, and I don't want the J to be covered. It's going to be covered if I put it up here. I did like this space idea too, but it's going to be covered. So it's going to be either one of these places. So if I'm wearing this, this is the right side of me if I'm wearing it. This is the left side of me if I'm wearing it. I don't know if it really matters. I feel like maybe the J on the right is good. So yeah, I'm thinking about putting it right here in the middle. Now, the only thing that I'm going to possibly run into is that I've got these two thicker seams that run down the middle of the vest. So I'm going to have to work through them, but you know what? I'm going to problem solve that as I get to it. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to, do I line it up to be straight with the pocket, or do I line it up to be straight with the, I'm going to show this to you. I've got these seams. So I've got these two seams that run right down the thing. And if I do this and I put it on the seams and I line it up to be straight with the seams, it won't be straight with the pocket. I think it makes more sense, because if this is sort of hanging straight, I think the seams are designed to go straight down. And I don't think it matters if the pockets kind of, like, it doesn't hang like this is what I'm getting at. Like if the pockets are up straight up and down, it doesn't hang open like this. It's designed to be straight up and down. So these would be straight down the front. So I think it makes best to align it with the two seams. So you know what? Let's do that. I think that's the best place for it. I think that it doesn't interfere with any of the distressing. It doesn't interfere with me using the pockets, which are actually usable even though they're small. It's right out front, but it's not too close that I'd be sort of smacking into the buttons. I think this is the spot. So I'm going to use some black embroidery floss. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to split the floss in half and use just like 3-ply of the floss, or if I'm going to use all 6-ply of the floss. Because what I want to do is, yesterday when we were kind of talking about the idea of just sort of how we were going to do this. I was originally, you know, I was thinking about doing a black beaded edge. The beads were too big. Fine, took the beads out. Then I was thinking about just stitching it on with black, and there was different kind of embroidery sort of suggestions in the chat. Charlie, I think it was Charlie, suggested I do a little chain stitch, and all night long I was thinking about how that would look, and I think I like the idea of the chain stitch because I don't want to trim the fleece part anymore. I want to leave it because it's not going to fray. So I think, you know, that whole, like, I think it was like the 70s, or even like just a regular letter jacket, just when they would make those hyper embroidered letters, and then there was just like a little bit of edging left. It doesn't fray, but it was still soft. I think I'm going to get that look with this initial. So I don't want to trim it anymore, and I want the chain stitching to kind of be snuggled up against the edge of the J and still leave a little bit of the fleece edging so that it's like just sort of there. It's going to have that like old letter sweater, letter jacket kind of effect, but it's beaded. So that's what I'm going for. So I'm thinking I might split the thread so that I'm only doing 3 ply, so it's not super thick, and I can make that little chain stitch really delicate. So I think that's what's going to happen here. We shall see. Okay. Charlie, hi Charlie. I like the idea of the chain stitch, so I think I'm going to use the chain stitch. Let's just jump into the stitching. I'm going to pin it down using a couple of my other needles here in my book. So let's split this in half. I want 3 of the 6 ply. I don't need all 6 because I think 6 is too much. So let's just undo this. I find the trick to pulling apart embroidery floss is to keep some tension on all 3 edges, the 2 parts that you're splitting and then the very main part. That typically stops it from getting all knotted up. I'm probably going to end up using both of these, so I'm just going to put that to the side. And I'm going to select my thread needle. So I want to be able to sew. I'm going through denim, so I need something with a little bit of oomph, but nothing that's got too big a hole in it. I think this might be the one. Let's see if I can get these 3 ply through. I should be able to, because that's a pretty big eye. And we're through. Okay. Let's knot that. So here is my thread. Now I'm going to pin. I'm only going to put a couple of needles in here. So I'm going to use the needles actually that have thread on them, so I always know where they are. I think I like this alignment. I really want to try and make sure I don't move it around much. So let's pin this right through the middle of the beads. I think I got it. And this one. This is also a good little way for me to tell if it's going to be difficult. This is a fairly thin denim. Like, I think it's supposed to be kind of like a springish jacket. There. That feels like it's not going to move on me. So I have 2 sewing pins keeping it in there, and I like to use sewing pins in this circumstance because a regular straight pin could just disappear in all those beads. I also don't want to pin it along the edge because I'm going to be sewing there, so I want it free and clear, but these have got the threads in them still, so I know where they are, so I can grab them and pull them out, so that's handy. All right. So I'm going to opt to try a little chain stitch. I'm going to start down here in the bottom corner where I think it's like a little less obvious. But first, a sip of tea to strengthen myself. Hi Dizzy, welcome to the party. All right, here we go. So I'm going to do all of the stitching on the underside. I don't care if it shows through because it's a vest, but it doesn't usually flap open on me. So I'm going to start down here and I'm going to try and I haven't done a lot of embroidery in a while, so this is going to be fun. So in order to do the chain stitch, if I recall correctly, I bring my thread in from the wrong side out to the outside. I go back down through roughly the same place that I brought it out because I want to make a loop. And I don't want that loop to be too huge, but so I can leave it open so I can at least grab it. Then I decide how far along I want the loop to end. And I bring my needle, now I've got these seams that I'm working through, so first few stitches are definitely going to take a little bit of getting used to. So let's back this in a little bit. Can I go through that seam? Yes. Okay, so bring this needle out where I want to catch the loop. Needle goes through loop. And then it's going to look like a straight stitch on the inside, which is fine. And then you go right back down through the same place that you just came out of. And the trick to this is basically just making sure you always put your needle up through. You're trying to keep your needle stitches equidistant so that your chain stitch always looks kind of the same. So here we go. I'm going to bring my needle out, a little thick in some places, catch my loop, and make sure that nothing is caught on the end. You know what? I'm going to get a few chain stitches in. I'm going to show you a close-up. I'm going to try and keep it as close to the edge of my letter as possible because I want it to act as a border and not just a join. Yep, that looks good. Grab the loop. Yep. Good call on the chain stitch, Charlie. Okay. So, that looks good. All right. One or two more and then I'll give you guys a close-up. So I've made my life a little more difficult by putting it over top of these two seams, but it will look good in the long run, so I think that was still the right choice. Also, you want to make sure you always get your needle through the loop from the right angle every single time, otherwise you end up with a twisted loop. Don't want that, which is exactly what I'm getting. So let's reverse course and come in from here. Was that the twist? Nope, I think that's correct. Okay. One more before I get too carried away. Pause. Okay. Again, did I get the wrong side? I think I did. Okay, so let's make sure this is still laying flat. Ignore these threads, they're just part of the securing system. I think I might even be able to take this one out now. Sure, why not? The fewer, there, I've taken one needle out. There's only one needle left in to secure it, plus the one I'm working with. So saying it out loud so that I know what's happening. Quick sip of tea, and let's take a look at this close up. So, needle dangling. So this is, quick recap. This is the front of the vest. Let's try and hold it properly. So that's the front of the vest. It's sitting below the main pocket. I'm going to keep it in alignment with these two sort of shaping seams here. And ignore that. That really wants to curl up. It's that polar fleece. But that's okay because once I get it all stitched down, you know what? Maybe that's where I'll put the securing pin. Okay, I'm bringing back the other securing pin. I'm going to secure the top of the J. Let's make sure this doesn't want to go anywhere. And I'm leaving the purple thread in there just so I can find it. There. Okay, that's better. That's better. Now it doesn't want to move on me. So that's the positioning of it. You see how it has that kind of letter jacket look? It's because I've left that little bit of extra polar or extra fleece around the edge. So I like that look. Plus the blue kind of goes with the stonewash-ish of the denim. So I like that. And the black stitching. So can we see the black stitching nice and closely? Chain stitching. I think it's going to work like a nice little edging. It will make it stand out. It'll give it a nice frame. It'll definitely secure it to the jacket. And it will still leave a little bit of that fleece showing. That's what it looks like on the inside. Nice, just simple straight stitching. Not a big deal at all. So I'm okay with that. Yeah. So now all that I have to do is just keep my cool. There is a real art to embroidery, hand sewing, hand stitching. I love sewing. I really love hand sewing because I like the control that it gives you. I love embroidery. I think it's amazing. My grandmother was amazing at embroidery. But wow, does it require discipline and steadiness? And I don't just mean like a steady hand. I mean like you've got to be steady of mood. Because if you get excited or like really wound up or frustrated or something, it's going to start looking really like staccato. And I don't want that. So I have to steady my mood, not get excited about getting to the end of the project so that I can keep all these little chain stitches looking as even as possible. I'm going for machine stitch look, which is so ironic. I don't want to use my machine. I want to do it by hand, but I want it to look like a machine did it. Humans, we're never satisfied with anything. Okay. Thank you, ladies. I'm glad it's looking good. Let's keep this little stitchy train going. I'm going to go, I'll get a few more done. Maybe I'll get up to the bottom of the top of the J. And why does it keep, no, that is right. I am not losing my mind. That's right. It wants to twist a little bit just naturally because of the spin of the embroidery floss. So I have to keep that in mind as I'm stitching. And keep my stitches as close to the edge That's a good one. And let's make sure that we know. This really wants to spin. I think what I need to do is sort of hold my work up so that my needle can dangle, and that should, the weight of the needle should want to untwirl the string a little bit, because this is really, really sort of twisted. So this should not be this tricky. Come on, you. What are you giving me so much trouble for? Don't mind me, I'm just gonna try, there we go. My gosh, that was ridiculous. Okay. So, I just want to drop this a second. Hang on one moment. So I want to drop my needle so that it can sort of unspin itself. I think that's sufficient. All right. Recap, make sure nothing's moving on me. That looks good. Okay. Mr. InStitches has joined the chat. Here to cheer me on. Okay. All right, let's just lock in and really knock this off. I want to stop this from twisting. I want to make sure I'm moving. I think I'm trying to keep my chain stitches about a ½ centimeter wide. And I'll check the back. Looks pretty straight. Good, good, good. I enjoy how almost anti-intuitive it seems to like put your needle back down through the same place you just brought it out of, because you know you're thinking that's not going to create the knot, but you come back out a second later and catch it. Embroidery is so neat. If you've never had a chance to sort of study embroidery stitches, there are just an endless number of them, and they are so much fun to do. Let's see if I work sideways, if that works a little bit better. I'm kind of trying to keep a grip on the vest, but also I don't want to shift things around too much. So for example, I want this to remain straight. So I'm going to remove this pin and pin it a little closer to the top for now. There we go. I want that to stay nice and straight. This is definitely going to add some freshness to my old vest. I've had this vest for several years now. You don't want to pull too tightly because you don't want to make your loops flatten out, but you don't want to not pull enough to have like too gapey a loop. This is definitely definitely requires a bit of practice to get a nice chain stitch going. But I would definitely classify this as one of the sort of more basic embroidery stitches. So if you want to like try embroidery, then this is a nice one to start with. Make sure I'm not twisting that. Looks like I've got to go at it from this angle. Yep. So I'm entering a corner. Actually, I'm kind of already in the corner, so I'm just going to take a nice little angled stitch to the side. That'll do. So what are you all up to this afternoon? Who is doing what? Going around another corner here. So I want to get that right at the corner. Pulled that one a little tight. Pull it back out again. always good when you're doing this to be careful when you're putting your needle through a blind spot. So in other words, like wherever you can't see the needle going, move slowly and with caution because you don't want to poke yourself. That is not a pleasant experience. All right, let's reposition this pin if I need it still. I don't think I do. So again, removing one of the fastening pins, it is going back into my needle kit. So now there's only one stay pin and the working pin. Saying it out loud so that I don't forget. Make sure this isn't all tangled up. All right. I may get almost halfway around with this first strand of thread, which would be nice because then that means that I might be able to finish it with just one thread strand. So like I've taken one strand of floss, split it in half. So that'd be nice so that I don't end up with half a strand. Up to another corner here. There we go. Got up very late and watched another live stream. Shush Kitten Academy, says Charlie. I watch Kitten Academy on occasion. They are very cute. Okay, let's keep it going. I feel like this is turning into a nice edging. I've still got some of that fleece showing along the edge, so far we are on track. It is looking the way I want it to. So that is a super happy thing. Let's make sure that I don't have the wrong spot. What is this? I want to make sure I don't accidentally split that. Is this it? Yes. Okay, let's not make that too tight. Actually, that's a little corner one, so that's okay. It can stay a little snug. Need to change things up a little bit here. I think my tail is longer than my loop. When I get to the end of my thread, things sometimes start to get a little mixed up. There we go. Go. Give myself a little slack. And that looks like a good spot. Okay. make sure that my threads don't become uneven too, because otherwise you'll end up with sort of little loops that look a bit furry. Don't want a furry loop. Almost lost it there. There we go. I think I might be able to get one more, maybe two more loops in here before I have to fasten this off. I'm getting dangerously close to running out of tail. Okay, let's make sure that I want this to stay nice and straight all the way across. So maybe I'll do one more loop, and then I'm going to fasten off and I'll start another thread. This is a bit of a thick spot anyway because I'm going through this seam. So I get it out, but not yank too hard. So I come from this side. All right, there we go. So I'm going to close this off, go down over top of the loop. So I'm going over the loop instead of back down on the inside of the loop like I normally do, so that that loop kind of is finished. There we go. I will pick up my next thread on the inside of this loop and start there. But let's knot off on the inside, and then I'll give you a close-up and you can sort of see how this is looking. I might have to trim this just to get it thread back up again. Almost. You know what I didn't do? I didn't do the other day is I didn't go find that little needle threader that I was talking about. Foolish. Should have done that. There we go. Did I get it? No, I didn't. Darn it all. The ends have gotten fluffy. Come on, you. You can do it. There we go. Okay, so all that just to knot off so I can take it back out again. I think I might be able to get one more in there. There we go. Okay. All right. Snipperoo. And now I'm rethreading again. Now this is fresh, so this shouldn't be so much of a problem. There, yep, that one worked. Haha. Okay, so what's happening here? Nothing is happening here. No knots today, thank you very much. Okay, that is ready. Put that to the side. Let's take a look at how we are faring so far. I think this is doing pretty good. So once again, using that chain stitch, so a little black chain stitch all the way around the edge to frame it. So the J is going to have this sort of nice sort of dramatic black edge, but I'm leaving that little tiny edge of the polar fleece because it won't fray. The fleece doesn't fray. It's a knit fabric, knit textile. So that's not going to fray, and it's going to have that kind of leather sweater kind of feel to it. And I've gotten all the way up around the top. So let me see if I can get this to stop wiggling. There. Looking pretty good. I like it. It's going to be a nice sort of refreshing change for the spring. I will put it on and model it for you once I get it done. Because I think that's the ultimate test is, you know, how does it actually look hanging on the body? Did I get the right angle? Did I follow the right line? We shall see. I'm going to now start my second thread. So let me just get this repositioned. It's a good thing I didn't go with a jacket and just a vest for the first time, because a jacket would have been really heavy. The vest is a lot lighter, which is great because I keep having to kind of turn it around and shuffle it around, and I forget. Denim itself isn't super heavy. It's a heavier cotton, definitely, than other fabrics out there. But with all the buttons and the extra seams and everything, it becomes really quite a lot to sort of maneuver and hold and get your needle through. So I'm glad I went for the vest and not the jacket. Good choice. Good choice. Looking good. Thanks very much, guys. Dizzy and Jessica really like that. Thank you. I really like it too. All right, here's the tricky part now. I've got to come up through the same little tiny place that I just finished. Holy cow, I may have just done it. And then go back down through the same little place and continue chain stitching from here. That is a tough little seam to get through. All right, and I'll hold that out of the way. And I'm going to come up right here. And I want, how is this twisted? I want it coming from this angle. Okay. All right. And then back down through the same place. So now in order to create the little loops, I'm going back down right through the same place that I just brought the needle out, so that I can catch the loop with my needle in the next stitch. All right, I want to make sure that this stays straight. So the fabric itself wants to bow a little bit just because of the nature of the fleece and all of the beading I did on it yesterday. Is this correct or is this correct? This is correct. I think a lot of the stitching won't even really be seen. I know I'm splitting hairs, but every stitch is good practice. Good practice for something that may be more obvious down the road. Okay, so let's make sure that I'm not getting this isn't moving on me. I want this nice and straight. I'm probably going to fix those little bumpity beads when I've got the whole thing stitched down. So I'm going to keep that angling forward. Where's this? That is right there. That I think I need to pull out a smidge. May have made this chain a little tight. There we go. Back down. Yeah, it is bulky. The denim is bulky, Ms. Rabbit. You're right. It's like, it's thick. It's thick. Kind of heavy. But it does make for good fabric to do this kind of embroidery on. Like, I don't have to add any extra interfacing, for example, because the fabric that I am stitching this to is nice and stiff. and strong. I'm trying to keep the chain stitching kind of just tucked up against the edge of the beads, just so it looks like it's part of the applique itself and not necessarily, you know, separate from it. Like it looks like the applique was made and then stitched on. I want it to look like it's part of the applique. And I'm just going to double check the back. Everything looks good back here. Let's move this around. See, I've got these nice big armholes I can reach under too, which is also great. That is a good one. How does it look on the back? I will hopefully have just a very simple little black outline that looks like a J in reverse on the back. Not that anybody's going to see it. Make sure that this isn't. Don't want that to get. Oh, I made that too tight. Again, I'm going through a stiff part because it's these seams that are like triple thickness basically. There we go. I also have to keep changing where I grab it from. Embroidery is not a static thing. Yeah, got that in the right place. Okay. sort of coming down the other side now, so I think I'm going to try and grab it from the other direction. And why does that want to make a little... Again, I don't want this to... It wants to curve down. I don't want it to curve down. So I've got to kind of pull it up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Okay, that was one of the trickier spots because I needed to keep the J straight up top, and now I need to come along an inside edge down here and curl up underneath the corner of the hook. The hook is going to be, I think, the trickiest part. I might now shuffle this. So this needs to sit just to the side. So I'm kind of just basically trying to, you know what, maybe just for safety's sake, I'll do this. I'll run it down the other way. I want to keep the J, the hook of the J kind of out of the way while I come down the inside of the main trunk of the J. I need to keep the hook out of the way. So I'll just kind of pin it to the side because this isn't going to move anymore. Okay, let's continue. Actually, let me give you a little quick show of how it's going. I think it's looking pretty good. So, needles are dangling. Okay. I'm going to try and keep that as straight as possible. There. So it's coming around the top. And now I'm kind of doing this next little edge here, that little chain stitch. So I'm trying to keep that chain stitch as close as I can to the edge so that you can kind of see the chaining of it, but also it creates more like a black frame, and it looks like it's part of the applique as opposed to me just sort of stitching an applique onto my jacket, or my vest in this case. And I like that the little blue is kind of showing along the side. I like it. I like it. So far, so good. I feel like it's still somewhat straight. I really hope it is straight and that following that line makes the most sense so that when it's on me, it looks like it hangs the way it's supposed to. Maybe it won't matter. I don't know. We'll see. So let's keep it going here. I want come around the underside of the top of the J, down the inside edge of the trunk, and then work my way up and underneath the hook. I'm definitely going to need more thread. All right, here we go. Thanks, Ms. Rabbit. I appreciate it. I do like the way it is coming along. Once again, I am surprised at the, maybe because I've decided to do a chain stitch. I still really like Charlie's suggestion of the chain stitching because it just adds like a little element of interest. Plus it feels like it's going to be like it's really going to be on there nice and sturdy. Like it's a nice sturdy kind of stitching. I know it would have been a lot faster to straight stitch or whip stitch it, but the nice thing about the chain stitching is that you can make it look a little bit more like it's part of the applique than, say, with the straight stitching or back stitching. Or I was considering a blanket stitch. I thought that that might look kind of cute too. But I like this. I think this was a good choice. And I'm glad I'm using black embroidery floss as opposed to trying to do the whole black bead thing. I think tiny black seed beads may have looked okay for that idea I was going for. But the black beads I have currently on hand are not seed beads. They're larger than that. Still glass, but just kind of on the large side. So, let's see here. Go right into the middle, bit of a curve, right there. Okay, let's pause for a second, make sure all of my tails are still roughly the same size. Did I go the wrong way? Looks like I might have. Let me reverse that. There we go. Untwist the thread. a little easier to chain stitch coming towards me. That just might be the way I'm able to hold everything. My shifting looks like it's moving a little bit, but not too much, so that's okay. Right into the corner here, inside edge. All right. So now I'm going around that corner of the hook, and I'll be definitely needing a new pile of thread in a minute. So this is also where I need to sort of shuffle around some of my beads to kind of make sure that I'm getting the actual fleece as opposed to like the background of the applique. There we go. I think it's about time to fasten off, cut a new thread length. Yeah, okay. And then we'll do a little check-in. Plus, I think I might need to move that sort of pin needle around. All right. Jessica Rabbit says, I feel like this and the seed beads would have been the same. Make it look like art when they use a fine liner pen. Yeah, a fine liner pen to line the painting. It adds a beautiful detail without taking over. Agreed. I was hoping I could get that with the black beads I had. Those were too big, as it works out. Not a big deal. I think that the embroidery floss was the next best thing, and I really like Charlie's idea of the chain stitching. I think the chain stitching was the right stitch to go with here. And here I go again. I'm going to try and rethread this so I can knot everything off. Gives it a little bit of a frame, a little bit of drama. Oh, come on. There we go. So I just want to knot this off. There we go. Okay. And trim. All right. So I've got to cut more black embroidery floss, but before I do that, let's just put you in a safe place. Put you out of the way. Let's take a look at where we're at. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So almost, well, more than halfway around. I've got to do up under the hook, around the hook, and then back down to the bottom of the J. So home stretch, I would call that the home stretch. Really like how that's looking, and I mean, I'm going to get as close as I can without it being too fuzzy. Oh, the beads, the black stitching. Yeah, I am pleased. Considering this is my first attempt at beading an initial, turning it into an applique, stitching it onto a vest, and that vest being denim, I think I'm doing okay. Okay is good. Okay is great, actually. Is okay great? Okay is great. That's funny. All right, I'm splitting my embroidery floss, so 3-ply. I want to just do the stitching with 3-ply, so I'm going to just continue to hold a little bit. This is where the twisting comes from. I try and keep sort of tension on all three. Usually I hold one end in my mouth, but I think it's a little rude on camera. I don't know, maybe I'm being ridiculous, but I'm often ridiculous. So that's okay. All right, so we'll thread this baby up. And make sure all my ends are the same. Doodly-doo. Knot that end, and we'll start stitching. So here we go. What is this, round three? Round three? Round three. Ms. Rabbit thinks I'm doing better than okay. The back border looks good. The black border looks good, says Mr. InStitches. Okay, thank you. I think so too. Glad to hear it though. That is good to hear. All right, so I'm going to pick up where I left off. I'm on the inside edge of the hook. So let's get myself up inside that little chain stitch that's there. And I'm going to put that to the side. And back down to the same place. And continue with the chain stitch. That's a good spot. And off I go. I'm going to try to keep sort of chaining towards myself. That seemed to have the best sort of results for me. And I'm working away on the inside edge of the hook. So this is where I think the trickiest part is going to be. I could be wrong, but that's what's kind of my instinct is telling me. I might be able to remove that extra needle that I've just got sort of holding the J in place. Can I do that? Let me see. Pause everything, look at it head on. You know what? I'm going to leave it in place until I get up and around the top of the hook. Then I think I can remove it. I think it'll be safe then. Okay, I'm coming up to the underside of the hook. That is the tricky spot. What just happened here? What on earth just happened here? Did I make a knot? How? That doesn't seem likely. All right. Let's undo this and figure out what's happening here. The really important thing is to, when you're doing the chain stitch, is to not pull too much out of control, because you might undo all of your chain stitching, because it's like a crochet chain stitch. It'll just one yank and the whole thing will start coming apart. So you have to be very careful. So I think I got it figured out here. There we go. Okay. Problem sorted. Mischief managed. And now I want to come down over here. Becky, hello. It's nice of so many of you to join me again this afternoon in my ongoing efforts to learn something new, have a little more fun, do a little more crafting, spend some more time with my crafty community, all my smart and crafty friends, and now I'm also adding improve my wardrobe to the mix. So okay, so I gotta spin this around again. It's such a funny, awkward little thing to work on. You would think so, but wow. Yes, that looks good. Okay. So, getting around the inside of the hook, check. Now I've got to get up and around the outside of the hook. And hopefully I'll be able to kind of zip through some of that. That shouldn't take too long. Famous last words. Upcycle. Exactly, Ms. Rabbit. It's a refresher. I'm not really upcycling my vest, I don't think. Like, I'm not turning it into something else. I'm just giving it like a fresh kind of, a little bit of a facelift, I guess. A glow up. I think that's what the kids say these days. Which sounds way cuter than facelift. I'm giving it a glow up. I'm giving it a bead up. Giving it a shiny, happy bead up. Okay. A makeover. Yes, D. I like that. All right, so I'm removing the other placeholder pin that I had, which is actually a needle. I am removing it. I am putting it back in my pin house. There. The only needle in action now is the one I'm working with. Saying it out loud so that I remember, and also nobody has to worry that I'm going to poke myself on something that is hiding inside the beads. There is no other needle in action now, just this one. So let's get this right here. Okay, give myself a little more slack. I'm over top of one of those thick seams again, so I've got to kind of dig a little harder, but also try not to pull anything that shouldn't be pulled. Okay, keep this from moving, so I'm going to put a little bit of a curve in it. think this is the home stretch, gang. I'm going to try my best not to get carried away and excited with that, because that is so typical me. What's that? Is that the finish line? Go! Another lovely, quiet afternoon, doing a little crafting among like-minded folk. It's so nice. This is just so nice. It's also nice to get to some projects that you've been wanting to get to, you've been meaning to try, and it's doubly nice to see them working out. I mean, it's always nice to just get to things. I feel like I have as much trouble just getting around to things as I do, you know, making them look half decent. I just want to get to the project. And I am pleased with some of the way, like, I'm not, every single little beaded applique I've made so far isn't a winner by any stretch. So far, I think my carrot is the best. And I think my initial here is a nice close second, because I really like how that rainbow effect was able to come together. That isn't to say that I don't like all of them. I like them all. But I think in terms of improvement, I can see steady improvement in my technique. And that is the whole point. I want to try something. I want to do something. I want to use those things. I want to use my beads. But I also want to, like, you know, learn. I don't want to just, I want to improve. I really like this. This is starting to look decent. And I think that down the road, if I was to add another or do another beaded applique with the intention of directly sewing it onto something, I might actually consider the chain stitch again. I like how the chain stitch is working out here. I'm able to kind of hide any little errors or make the edge look neater, like where my beads aren't always, the beaded edge is a little bit wonky, but the black thicker looping of the chain stitching is kind of hiding that. It's adding a little bit of framework, and it's giving the beads something to kind of snuggle up against. So another reason why the chain stitch was a good choice here. So thank you again, Charlie, for the suggestion. Back through that really thick seam, trying not to poke myself, making sure I get a good spot. Okay, I need a little bit of slack here. Okay, so I'm going to pin this one down right about here. And just giving some more thought to that idea that Jessica Rabbit mentioned last stream, where I think you said you had a quilted block you wanted to add to a denim jacket. I'm thinking if it went on the back of the jacket, you would, okay, let me not accidentally pull all this out. You probably wouldn't have like really big, thick seams to work through, so it might be a smidgen easier to work like on an open, big open backspace. I'm kind of currently liking the idea behind that too. That's a better. Right. I think I might tie this one off just because I do have more split embroidery floss still, so rather than fight with it, because it's acting like it wants to give me, it's acting like it's trying to, well, I don't think it's trying to do anything at all, but you know what I'm saying, it's kind of giving me a bit of grief here, so maybe I'll just be done with this strand. But I'm almost done. What did I just do here? See, the finish line is in sight, and I've already started to kind of mess up. I knew this was going to happen. So let's figure out what I've done wrong here. Got to get that last loop up. Okay. So one string is shorter than the rest. Well, I'm going to fix that. All right. That should work. There we go. Phew. Okay, I've just got like a handful of stitches left, and I still might have to, I think I am. I'm going to fasten this one off. So I'm going to do this loop, and I'm going to fasten off. I'm going to tie in the next one because this string is starting to give me a bit of grief. So I'm probably like 7 chain stitches away from the finish line here. Okay. This is the last time I want to have to thread this needle today. There we go. Okay. So let's get all the wiggles out. And back in we go. So I want to go back up inside that little chain stitch that I just finished making. There we go. And back down. And then back out through here. So let's make the bottom as neat as possible, Jada. All right. One more. I'm going to put this one right in the same place that I started. Come up through the middle of that first chain that I made. You probably can't see it, but rest assured it's there and I'm doing it. And that is the last chain stitch. That's an in, that's an out. Okay. Whew, all right. Knotting it on the back. The J is now stitched down. Hoot, hoot. I'm going to put this thing on and we'll take a look and see how it looks. I'm going to take my sweater off though, so I think it'll hang a little bit better because I'm not sure it'll fit on over top of this sweater. So there we go. Okay. Needle goes back in the needle book. Let's get you out of the way. All right. One moment, everybody. Let me get my sweater off. And we'll see what this looks like. Get my chair out of the way. Okay, so let's get this thing on, give it a try. Come on, arm. No, this is not a child's vest. I just don't have the arm flexibility that I used to. Oh my goodness. Okay. Does it hang right? Let's see. Yeah, because if I did it up, which technically I can, but I never do, it would hang straight. So that's okay. So if it's hanging open, definitely it's hanging, it's following the right line. So yes, that did work out. I like that. I think it looks pretty cute. And it's a rainbow of colors. There's a pink in there too. So that means it'll go with anything. But you know, denim. Everything goes with denim. I like it. I like it. I like it. Yeah, and that black that black outline, it really, it saves it. I think it really does. It saves it. It makes it look like it's part of the applique. It gives it that tiny black seed bead edging that I really was hoping I would have, but I couldn't do because I didn't have the right size beads. So the black embroidery saves it, and the chain stitch is just thick enough, like that nice little that like it looks like it's part of it. Also, you can be a little messy with the chain stitching and it doesn't matter as much. So I'm happy with the way that turned out. Yes, 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 yes. All right, come back here, chair. All right, final thoughts. I'm delighted. It worked out. I like it. That's my first attempt at beading an applique specifically for something, finishing it off, stitching it on. Makes me want to do more. I like it. I like it a lot. And now my vest has got like a little something going on. I like that. This is marvelous. I'm so glad that you guys were able to be here for this. This was a lot of fun. I have successfully made a beaded applique that I will be happy to wear in public. It looks quasi-professional. It definitely gives the vest a bit of zing, a little bit of wow factor, which is nice. Plus, you know what? It makes it kind of fun. Now I'm thinking the back needs something. So to Ms. Rabbit's idea, I'm thinking maybe the back could use a little something. I'm going to have to put a little thought into that, and we'll see what I can come up with, because I do have some quilted pieces that I've got a lot made. I just don't know if any of them would be suitable. If I've got one in the same kind of color, like the rainbow ombre, that might work. I don't know. I forget what I have. I've done so many, and I have so many, and they've been in my bins for so long. Gonna have to do a little more bin diving, a little more stash diving, and see what I might have. Maybe I've got something that might suit the back. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the denim vest being a wardrobe piece that kind of speaks for itself. It's like vests are back in. Vests can be a really nice fashion statement. They can make a real, like, they can do a lot of talking for you, and they can kind of be a nice way to just finish off an outfit. Like, a pair of jeans and a t-shirt is fine in the spring and summer. It's a nice casual little outfit. A little pair of running shoes with that. You know, put your hair up in a bun or something. It's really cute. But you put this little denim vest on, and it just adds a little something. Makes you look a little more put together, you know. Maybe you've got a bag that kind of goes with your denim vest, and you put a beaded applique on that too. And now you look like you've got like a whole outfit going. One of these on a baseball cap would be so cute. Is that where my carrot is going to go? Might have to dig through my baseball cap supply and see if I've got one that could use an applique, because wouldn't that be cute? I think that would be really cute. We shall see. Thank you so much. Next live look through Jada's squares, says Mr. Rabbit. Yeah, really. I should bring, I'll go looking for them, see if I can find them. Once again, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I love the company. You make me feel like I'm not doing this in vain. You make me feel like I'm not alone, and that spending some time kind of working my way through a new craft idea or a new craft project or a technique that's just new to me, it feels like I have friends along for the ride, and I really enjoy that because I love crafting. I love sewing. I love my beads. I love stitching. I love embroidery. I love clothes. I love fashion. Sewing and fashion was my first love. And there have been so many crafting sort of spin-offs from that. Knitting and crocheting and tatting and just you name it, I'll try it. I love it. I love being creative, and I know so many of you do too. So thank you so much for spending some more time with me and keeping me company while I walk my way through some new techniques. I am really enjoying this little adventure so far, so thank you. Thank you so much. Last thoughts, everybody. You're all just lots of love from Mrs. Rabbit. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, guys. We will see you soon. I will be back with something I don't know what. So stay tuned for more of the fun little adventure here on Stories and Stitches. Stay safe, stay crafty. Remember, you can stitch your own story. That's what I'm doing. And have a great rest of your day. We will see you soon. Bye-bye, my dear friends. Take care, and if you make something out of nowhere, out of the blue, leave me a comment. I'd like to know. Bye.